Hey guys, welcome to another edition of the Break Room. In today's edition, we'll talk about the rise, but most importantly, the downfall of Vice. It's not a secret that Vice has seen his stock plummet. The value has gone down immensely, so much so that the company at this particular point is uh, at the verge of filing a bankruptcy, if not bankrupt already. KR, take over.
Yeah, if this was the rope a dope, they would have been already on the canvas. It's done. It seems like it's done for Vice, guys. I mean, um, so the latest is that they are preparing to file for bankruptcy at this moment. Just imagine, guys. A couple of years back, they had a valuation of 5.7 billion dollars, and we're talking. And a couple of years back, let's see if I can find this real quick. A couple of years back is around 2017, so that's about 6 years ago. So in 6 year time, they managed to basically destroy a company.
Yeah, a
It
big
took them,
company.
it took them 23 years to build it to that amount, because it was founded in 1994. It took them almost 23 years to get to that valuation, and changes in strategy has broken them down to the place where they are now. Crazy. Have you watched Bison before, RJ?
Not really. So
Not really.
on occasion, but I'm not regular. I think
Oh.
you've watched it way more than me, actually.
Yeah, during my college days, I was watching. I was a frequent watcher of Vice. I used to watch a lot of their web series, news. They had interesting. They had very interesting content, or back then series and documentaries. Um, but around the time I graduated from college, guys, I'm still in my mama's basement, by the way. I'm still locked here, man. It's what it is. But um, I stopped watching, and a couple of years later, so I'm not. You see what I'm doing? Not giving out years. A couple of years later, I was like, let me go watch what Vice has, and to my surprise, they totally changed their strategy. It was a totally different content they were making, and I was very shocked actually at the whole change in strategy they had. Um, I'm not sure what made them do that, but at the same time, around that time, I didn't continue watching. I was trying to see where they are now, out of nowhere, and then I stopped watching right away, because it wasn't content that I would want to watch at that time during my in my life. I was like, yeah, it's okay. I'm gonna watch something else. So maybe I mean, maybe I wasn't the only one who probably thought that way, because it's clear that if you're going from 5.7 billion, 5.7 billion valuation in 2017 to now almost filing for bankruptcy after, because at the end of last year, um, Vice Media, and this according to Wall Street Journal, Vice Media said to miss revenue projection by over 100 million
Wow,
amid stalled sale talks. How can you? This is that's
that's Tucker Carlson money.
guys. We have a show tomorrow on Tucker Carlson. Go check that one out.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's Tucker Carlson money.
Yeah.
100 million project. That's way off.
Yeah. Definitely.
I mean, this is if you think about it, the Vice Media, it was built. It was built throughout the years, and I mean, guys like Juan's World, which was a great docu series about food. And I think they also still had the Action Bronson series as well, right? On Vice Land, I think. And then it turned into totally something else. I mean, this is what can we expect, RJ, relating to if you look at bankruptcy? What are the probable next steps that will happen with this with Vice Media as a company?
Uh, so if the company is bankrupt, then the trustee would be named to distribute the assets. The primary job of the trustee is to try to limit the damages cost to creditors as much as possible. The creditors can expect that they will not receive money or they're not going to receive all their money. And you can imagine we're talking about investors, we're talking about people whom Vice had contracts with. But the trustee would first need to would try to limit their damages as much as possible. Now, in order to do so, you need to take into account that there are two types of assets. You have, of course, the liquid assets, and you have uh, physical assets.
Mhm.
That means that we're not talking about like money in the bank that the trustee would go look at and say, okay, oh, here's the money. Here, you guys, there's this amount. I'm going to split it in 200, 300, 2,000, whatever the number may be, and everyone gets a part. No, it doesn't work like that, because there are a couple of other things that plays a role. First, you have the goods that are not liquid, which would need to be sold. Another thing that to take into account that that you also probably have claims. Maybe Vice has debtors that need to pay, and depending on the amount, the trustee might think that it's better to collect the money. If there's a dispute, then the trustee needs to consider whether or not it's desirable to go to court to try to get the money. Because if it's a complicated case, if it's just a case of an unpaid bill, it's different. But if there's a dispute, then you're talking about litigation. The trustee would need to evaluate whether that is desirable or not. Now, what can also happen in a case like this is that before I go to that part, there's one more thing to take into account. The trustee doesn't work for free. The trustee's team doesn't work for free. Advice that the trustee seeks doesn't work for free. Doesn't, or at least isn't free. That means that in the first phase, where the trustee is in charge with inventory, so he or she would need to create an inventory of the assets and liabilities, for that matter, to see what the financial situation is of the company. All the time that the trustee and his team take is billable. And who needs to pay it? It's coming out of the Vice's money. So if they desire to hire a lawyer to go to court for them, or hire a collection officer, or hire whatever kind of specialist, or whatever big company to do whatever job, they would need to pay. You can imagine that creditors are always messaging. What's the status? What's the status? All that is going towards the salary of the trustee and party to other parties, and payments to other parties. So it's a very long and lengthy procedure, and it can be costly as well, the which would mean that at the end of the process, creditors won't get anything, or at least less than what they would have gotten at the beginning, right? Now, sometimes it's desirable in a situation like this to seek a buyer for the company, because that would mean that the trustee would need to only, and I'm simplifying it, but the trustee would need to only negotiate with the prospect buyer or prospect buyers to see whether or not they can sell the whole company. And if they do decide to sell it, then the question becomes, okay, how will the sale take place? Will the company only purchase the assets, or will the company buy the shares? Oftentimes, what you see is that the buyer does not want the shares of the existing company, because it's a ticking time bomb. So oftentimes, the buyer would create a new company and bring the assets in the company. But and the trustee in its turn would need to see what the effects would be, because the money needs to go. So whether the amount of money that the company receives, the purchase price, whether it's market price or as market price as possible, taking into account the fact that uh, the the company is bankrupt, and so his negotiation position is not that well. But sometimes the trustee cannot make a deal here without talking to at least the main creditors, the tax office, for example, of the tax authorities, or big creditors, to say, hey, this is what's going on, guys, and I want to purchase this, and with this I will pay. What do you think of it? Just to get a feel. Especially if there's, like, sometimes you have banks who extended loans, and they have security. They have the assets are collateral for the banks. So you can't sell the property as easily. Well, you can, but maybe the bank will say, okay, if you sell it with the collateral, if you sell it, you sell it with the collateral, which would mean that the new owner would be responsible to pay off the debt. These are all things that play a role in a bankruptcy. But what I can say is that Vice is a platform.
Yeah. Vice Media.
Vice Media. It's a platform. So if you purchase the company, and with the company, I'm not saying, let's say, the shares, but let's say the business, right? You purchase the business model. You get you probably get studios, you probably get equipment, you can probably hire people who
And a
work
bunch of brands as well.
brands. So it's very appealing. So, and it's not all, and this is not always the case, which makes the case, this particular case, bankruptcy case, or potential bankruptcy case, very interesting, because the person that buys it, if the person or company or group that buys the business has enough capital to reorganize, and it's a fresh start, right? Start it up from scratch, possibly taking into account certain minor responsibilities or whatever, but who knows where the company will be in a couple of years. So it's pretty interesting, a pretty
I mean,
interesting case to follow.
they have a it's not only when we're talking about Vice Media, by the way. So Vice Media Group. So the brands that fall under Vice Media Group, you have Vice Studio, Vice Land, Noisy, Motherboard, Broadly, Munchies, which is the food network, the Creators Project. You have Thump, ID, Fightland, Waypoint, Tonic, Pulse Films, Refinery 29, SWG, Virtue Worldwide, and Garage. So there's a lot of
A lot of brands, a lot of
brands.
intellectual property, a lot of businesses, a lot of, yeah.
Yep, yep. And you won't believe it. Who do you think is the second major owner of this brand?
Give me a,
Themselves and through another company. You wouldn't guess it.
give me it.
Go woke, go broke.
Disney. Disney? Yeah. Hey,
36%.
hey, then I take everything back. It's then it's clear why the company.
They bought when they bought Fox News. That's when they also got uh,
Mm,
shares, and they have A&E networks as well. They own part of A&E network, so that's how they got about 36%. The biggest owner is TPG Capital and Shane Smith, which I think is one of the original founders, has about 20%, which is kind of a lot for a founder in these cases. But he is he's been a while not involved with this company. So um, yeah, if you think about it, this is basically it's a dud. They're about to go. They're about to go, man. And the question is, like you said, I think it's really interesting to see who is the one who's going to step up. Is any one of them? There have been rumors that one of the owners, already owners, are going to reinvest some money in the company. It's not clear yet if this is a done deal, but there have been talks that they will put about 400 million um, dollars into the company to save it from bankruptcy, or maybe increase as well, maybe their stake in the company, and that way give it the needed impulse, capital impulse. That's crazy if you think about it, man. Again, they have changed their strategy, and it seems to not be working out. So my question is, if the person who's going to invest in it continues this strategy, then they're basically burning money. What is the big strategy they should take now? That's the great question. Will they continue the path they are going in right now, or will they be well? So that's being stubborn because it's not been working, the business model. Or do you choose to go a different route? Or maybe you should first of all, they probably have to cut the cost in order to become even, well, they probably maybe sell some parts of the company to make it maybe smaller as well, some brands. I mean, people are going to lose their job, that's for sure.
definitely.
Definitely. So hey, we'll see, man. It's again, guys, you can work 23 years towards something, build a major brand, and in 6 years you just totally run it into the ground.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Let us know what you guys think. Have you been watching Vice throughout these years and suddenly stopped watching? Tell us, why did you stop watching? Let us know in the comments. We are curious to know what you think about Vice and the transformation throughout the years. And why do you think that they change their strategy? Do you think it's the right to how? It's probably obviously it's not wasn't the right thing to do. But do you think they will change the strategy in the future? Will they go back to their roots? Will they need to go back to their roots in order to survive in the future? Is I remember advice from documentaries in war zones. They would send these independent journalists, and I'm literally saying independent. They would give you the real view, not try to pander towards one party or not. You would see what is really happening, and this is the type of journalism that has really skyrocketed them into relevancy. And maybe the reason why they're falling off is that because they went away from that.
Maybe sometimes, I mean, we always say if it's not broke, don't fix it. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Well, I think if we look at Disney in general and other examples as well, people are trying to fix something that's not broken, or at least they invented a problem, and now everyone wants to be woke, for example. But wokeism is just one part. Sometimes we think, oh, we need to change because the world is changing. But maybe the business model worked throughout the years because of the consistency, because of what you were offering. Maybe that was enough. And sometimes I think as well, Kara, sometimes you want to impress people, right? Can you imagine there's a uh, uh, recruitment process for a marketing director or a CEO. And during the interview, they ask, how do you see this company growing? And you'll know they always need to come with the weirdest things or the most extravagant things to impress people. It's probably something like that. I mean, you would think that a big company is not susceptible to that, but from what I've experienced assisting businesses as a lawyer, is that the same problems you see in mom and pop shop, the same problems you see uh, in a business where someone is self-employed, the same problems you see, or these are the same problems you see in big companies.
Actually, they are probably worse, but
Yeah, so it's the same problems, but not only worse. It's worse is so to be more specific, the scale is higher, the consequences are bigger, and the differences as well is because when a company gets big, you have departments. So whereas in a small business, you would say that person doesn't, you can't do anything. When you have departments, you can specifically say, oh, this part, so um, this department is bad for this reason. That department is bad for that reason. So the process is not in, it's not all bottled up into one person. It's
yeah, usually what you have, and guys, I'm in my mama's basement, so I'm armchair quarterbacking right now. But usually when you have oh, jeez, that's a good opening though. But usually what you have is that in corporate settings, these departments only know what they know. They don't see the whole process, and that's a lot of times that's the problem with the corporate. In addition, what you also have is that um, and why I'm saying it's worse. In corporate, you have huge egos. Sometimes people think they know. People think they actually know, but they don't know nothing. And when things go south, they still think they know. They don't take any advice or whatever until they're fired or the company went bankrupt.
yeah,
So people have kind of an immense high ego sometimes, in corporate structures, and the people who actually know are not heard for some reason, whether it's because they don't have the right positions, or they don't speak to the right people. um so that's what I mean why it's worse. Usually with mom and pops you can fix it more easily because it's also smaller and people understand the process better. With corporate, it's tougher because, like I said, everyone knows only what they do in their department. No one actually understands the full process of actually how the company works. And that's a lot of times how people can differentiate themselves from others within a company. But that's a talk for another day, guys.
Yes, yes, yes. Guys, with that being said, we are we have reached the end of the segment. I
Yep.
don't have anything to add. Thanks to everyone that
I
tuned
have
in.
one last thing.
Okay.
One last thing before you close out. I want to wish Vice all the luck. Because as we say at the Double Dot Show, luck you will need.
Yes, yes. Guys, thanks for tuning in. Remember to subscribe to the channel. We want to reach 1,000 subs by the end of June of this year. So please subscribe if you haven't done so already. Remember to rate the show by pressing the like button. Don't forget to share the video with your friends, your families, and of course your enemies. And remember to follow us on social media at Double Touch Show on Facebook and Instagram. With that being said, it's been a pleasure, and we'll see each other in the next one. Until next time.